What if the first thing women notice isn't your age? What if it is not your salary, your status, or the silver in your hair? What if the most attractive thing about an older man is something you can't show off, can't brag about, and can't pretend to have for more than 5 minutes? Because there's a particular sign women see fast, not in what you say, but in what you need. And if you're honest, you have felt this from the other side too. When someone's demeanor is calm, but their eyes are begging for something, approval, validation, control, a reaction, that's the difference. Some men walk into a room like they're here to take from it. Others walk in like they're already whole, and the room can either join them or not. Today, we're exploring 3 unusual stoic traits that secretly make older men powerfully attractive, the kind of quiet pull that doesn't ask for attention. And yes, this wasn't made up on podcasts. This was created in the minds of Roman emperors and Stoic philosophers almost 2,000 years ago. But listen carefully. These traits aren't dating tips. They are identity shifts. And the third one is the dividing line between men who merely get older and men who actually grow up. So let's get right to it. Trait number 1, cultivated indifference. Now, don't mix this up with being cold. Cold is avoidance. Indifference is skill. Anyone can be distant, that's easy, but cultivated indifference is rare because it needs something most men don't build, the ability to remain stable while life tries to upset you. Here's how it works. A younger man's flight gets canceled. His plans fall apart. He gets criticized at work, he feels disrespected in public, and you can see the turmoil inside him. He responds, he complains, he gets obviously stressed. He turns harsh, defensive, performative, or needy, not because he's weak, but because he's living with a hidden rule. If the outside world goes wrong, I go wrong. But the Stoic-minded man follows a different rule. He knows the outside world is unpredictable by nature, so he creates his stability inside himself. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. Focus only on what you can control, your decisions, your thoughts, your character. Everything else is outside your control. And when you truly understand that, something changes in your energy. You become a safe port. Not a man who doesn't feel, but a man who doesn't spill his emotions. And women feel that right away, even if they can't put it into words. Because here's the real truth. Anxiety spreads. Composure also spreads. In a world full of drama and nervous systems on edge, a man who stays calm becomes a rock. Not because he's trying to be noticed, but because he doesn't look for his peace from others. The Stoics called this apatheia, not apathy, not numbness, but freedom from being ruled by emotions. And that's the first important idea you need to remember. Most men think attraction is about strength. But sometimes the most compelling quality is a man who doesn't agitate your nerves, a man who doesn't make trouble just to feel alive. That's why cultivated indifference is powerful. He's the rock, not the piece of paper in the wind. Now, here's the key point, because if you stop here, you'll get the wrong idea about the whole trait. Cultivated indifference isn't just about staying calm when life challenges you. It's about what happens when people try to change you, when someone tests you, when a woman distances herself, when the room doesn't approve of you. Does your mood follow them or guide itself? That's where the attraction really exists. And it brings us into the second trait, the one that instantly tells apart men who talk to be seen from men who speak because it is important. Trait number 2, the power of deliberate silence. Listen carefully. Younger men often feel the need to fill every silence, not because they're foolish, but because they're trying to manage an invisible fear. If I stop talking, I stop being important. So they talk to get attention. They talk to prove their value. They talk to show how much they understand. And the sad part is, most of them don't even realize they're performing. But the Stoic-minded older man understands something that changes everything. True power doesn't yell, it listens. He isn't silent because he has nothing to say. He's silent because he's watching, understanding, and thinking. And when he does speak, his words have substance, not theatrical weight, not secret alpha weight, genuine weight, because they're chosen with intention, not said carelessly. Stephanie said, "Speech is the mirror of the soul," and you can feel this in people. Some men speak like they're trying to hide a wound. Other men speak like they're showing a decision. A man at ease in silence shows his inner world is calm, balanced, deep. He isn't seeking validation by controlling the conversation. His validation comes from within. And here's why this is so attractive to the mind. Deliberate silence makes people pay attention because the human brain is trained to want what isn't given away freely. When you don't over-explain yourself, you communicate self-trust. When you don't rush to fill quiet moments, you communicate self-control. And self-control is one of the most convincing signals of security. But I'm not going to give you the full answer yet, because there's a more serious layer here. Silence isn't just attractive because it's calm, it's attractive because it sorts out the men who are extremely eager to be noticed. And that brings us to the third trait, the one that truly separates grown men from boys. Because the greatest magnetism isn't perfection, it's what you do with the parts of your life that didn't go the way you wanted. If this struck a chord, don't ignore it. That's information. Say it out loud. There's a part of you that thinks your past is a burden. The divorce, the business that didn't succeed, the friendship you lost, the years you can't get back, the moment you realized you weren't in control the way you thought you were. And if you're like most men, especially men who've learned to survive by staying calm, your first thought is to keep those sections closed, not because you're ashamed, but because you learned a harmful rule early. If they see where I was hurt, they'll know where to aim. So you make it neat. You talk about the good parts. You keep it shiny. And then you wonder why, even when you look solid, people don't fully feel at ease around you. Here's the hard truth. A man who hides his scars doesn't come across as strong. He comes across as controlled. And controlled men always feel like they're one bad moment away from breaking. That's why trait number 3 is the one that truly separates the men from the boys. Trait number 3, embracing scars. This is the big shift because every man has scars. Setbacks in business, heartbreaking relationships, moments of deep loss, times you disappointed yourself, times you had to rebuild from zero, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Society tells men to hide these things, to move on, to tough it out, to act like pain is a personal problem you should fix quietly and never mention again. But the truly attractive older man does the opposite. He doesn't show off his scars like a badge. He doesn't act out vulnerability for attention. He simply isn't afraid of what happened to him. And that's a different kind of power. Because a scar isn't proof you were damaged, it's proof you were hit and you didn't fall apart. Now, this is where most men misunderstand what women are drawn to. They think women want perfection. No, women want emotional outcomes handled well. They want to feel that if life gets real, if things get messy, unpredictable, painful, you won't turn cold, you won't lose control, you won't become someone they have to take care of. So when an older man can recognize his past without bitterness, without shame, without making a big story out of it, his entire presence changes. He stops feeling like a breakable statue that can't be touched. He feels like a human being who has been tested and succeeded. Stephanie has a name for this, amor fati, a love of one's fate. Not putting up with your past, not accepting it through force, loving it because it made you. That doesn't mean enjoying pain, it means refusing to be at war with reality. And the moment you stop being at war with your own history, you stop giving off the vibe of a man trying to run away from himself. That's what people feel. A man who embraces his scars doesn't need to prove anything because he already lived through his own judgment. And here's the second way of thinking, the one most men don't see coming. A lot of men believe strength is never being hurt, but strength is being hurt and not becoming harmful because of it. Not becoming resentful, not becoming entitled, not becoming reactive, not becoming manipulative. A scar held with maturity becomes empathy. A scar held with denial becomes bitterness, and bitterness has a presence. People may not say it, but they step back because bitterness turns connection into a battle. every woman becomes a symbol, every conversation becomes a test, every interaction becomes a power struggle. That's not attraction, that's unresolved pain trying to collect what it's owed. The Stoic man refuses that. He turns the past into fuel, not poison. Stephanie wrote something that sounds simple until you live it. The obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That line is not a quote for wall art, it's a psychological guide. It means your setbacks aren't extra weight, they're lessons. Your heartbreaks aren't weaknesses, they're what taught you how not to ruin something good when it finally comes. Your failures aren't proof you're behind, they're proof you have experience. And that's why embracing scars is magnetic. A man who isn't afraid of his past is a man who isn't afraid of the future. He doesn't need life to be perfect to stay firm. He doesn't need constant reassurance to stay focused. He's already met darkness inside himself, inside the world, and he didn't turn into a monster. He turned into someone calmer. And calm, built from experience, is the most convincing kind. Now, keep this open loop with me because we're almost at the point where everything comes together. Cultivated indifference is not emotional numbness. Deliberate silence is not avoiding people. Embracing scars is not weakness. All three are forms of self-command. They tell the same story. This man doesn't need the world to act right for him to remain solid. And if you've ever felt like you were trying to be confident, trying to be attractive, trying to be respected, this is why it felt tiring, because you were trying to create what Stoicism teaches you to become. If you've made it this far, you're probably not the kind of man who wants to learn scripts. You're the kind of man who wants to act differently. Because the truth is, women don't fall for traits the way men imagine. They don't sit there comparing you like a resume. They read something faster. They read your true stance. And the three Stoic traits we've been talking about, cultivated indifference, deliberate silence, embracing scars, are not separate tactics. They're three signals of one identity, a man who is not emotionally for sale. That's the quiet power. Now, here's the first new way to see it that usually changes a man's mind. Most men think magnetism is about standing out, but Stoic magnetism is about not needing to stand out. It's the absence of grabbing, the absence of performance, the absence of that subtle begging energy that says, "Please see me as enough." And the moment that disappears, you don't just become calmer, you become harder to manipulate, harder to shake, harder to read as needy. That's what people call presence. Cultivated indifference means life doesn't get to control your feelings. So when plans fall apart, when people misunderstand you, when something doesn't go your way, you don't spill frustration into the room. Not because you're holding it back, but because you've already made your decision. I will handle what's mine. I won't fight with what isn't. That single decision changes how a woman interacts with you. Because she isn't preparing for your mood, she can relax. And relaxation is where attraction actually has room to exist. But here's the key point most men miss. Indifference is not the calm you show, it's the calm you have when nobody is watching. That's why it's so rare. Now add deliberate silence. Most men talk to manage how others see them. They explain, they justify, they overshare, they fill space. And the reason they do that is simple. Silence makes them feel vulnerable, so they talk to cover that feeling. But men who stay silent, men who can pause, look, assess, show something almost primal. I don't fear the quiet. They're not rushing to be liked. They're not rushing to be understood. They're not rushing to prove value. They're listening because they can choose to. And when they speak, it has an effect. Not louder, but cleaner. Now, here's the second new way to see it. This one is uncomfortable. Silence isn't attractive because it's mysterious. Silence is attractive because it shows self-trust. A man who trusts himself doesn't chase approval in real time, and women feel that as stability. Finally, embracing scars is what makes the first two traits real instead of an act. Because yes, anyone can pretend to be calm for a moment. Anyone can be quiet if they're trying to look deep. But scars reveal what you're made of when life stops going well. A man who embraces his scars isn't trying to hide the fact that he has lived. He doesn't make his pain seem special. He just doesn't look away from it. And that does something powerful to how people see him. He becomes emotionally predictable in the best way. Not boring, but predictable. meaning he won't punish you for reality. A man who has accepted his past doesn't need to use the present as a weapon. He doesn't need to control results. He doesn't need to lead conversations. He doesn't need to be worshipped to feel secure. So when you put all three together, here's what you get. A man whose calm is learned. A man whose words are careful. A man whose history is accepted. That's not attractive, that's magnetic. Let's say it clearly. Most people are walking around in quiet emotional debt. They want attention to manage their insecurity. They want admiration to steady their identity. They want control because uncertainty frightens them. So when they meet someone who is not asking for emotional payment, someone who isn't trying to take reassurance, take status, take validation, their nervous system feels something it rarely feels, and relief is powerfully attractive. That's why the stoic older man draws people in without a word, because he isn't running after energy, he's keeping it. Now, before you turn this into a to-do list, one last perspective shift. These traits aren't something you act out to create, they're something you remove your way into. You remove the need to be seen, you remove the urge to fill space, you remove the shame around your past, and what's left is you, transparent, quiet, unshakable. Men who notice trends instead of reacting change their entire life with others. Men who don't explain themselves for approval start speaking like every word matters. Men who can look at their own scars without flinching stop fearing anyone else's opinion. If you understand these three traits, you don't walk into rooms hoping to be chosen. You walk in already chosen by your own standards. And once that makes sense, you stop trying to be magnetic. You just become the kind of man people feel safer being close to. If you're still here, you're not looking for confidence. You're looking for the kind of internal quiet that doesn't need an audience. Because the real shift isn't that you become calmer, it's that you stop needing the world, women, strangers, outcomes, to confirm that you exist. And this is where most men subtly lose themselves, not in big failures, not in dramatic mistakes, but in tiny moments where they reach for something they don't admit they're reaching for. A reaction, a softened face, a little extra warmth, a sign that they still have influence. Men who don't notice that action will call it flirting or charm or putting yourself out there, but men who do notice it realize something more honest and sharp. Sometimes the need for connection is real, and sometimes it's just a desire to feel powerful again. That difference is everything, because women can't always tell what you want, but they can always feel whether you're free, or whether you're trying to satisfy something through them. Here's the first open loop I want to share and hold for a second. You already know what it feels like when someone is nice, but it isn't pure. So ask yourself quietly, honestly, have there been moments where your calm was actually a tactic? Not malicious, not creepy on purpose, just calculated. And if the answer is yes, that doesn't make you damaged. It means you are operating without the full picture. Now, let's set the picture into place. Cultivated indifference, deliberate silence, embracing scars. When these three traits become real inside you, something interesting happens. You stop making deals with life. You stop making trades with reality, thinking if I do everything right, I'll be rewarded with affection. That mindset is the beginning of neediness. The philosophy from the manipulated mind replaces it with something cleaner. I will act with good character. I will carry myself with self-control. I will handle my inner world, and I will let outcomes reveal themselves. That's not giving up, that's self-rule, and self-rule reads as safety. Now, a second open loop, because this is where the brain wants answers. Why does a woman often trust a man more when he doesn't push for trust? Why does interest feel better when it's offered with no strings attached? I'll answer it, but not yet. Hold it. First, I want you to notice the pattern behind magnetism. A lot of men think magnetism is what you add: better stories, better clothes, better lines, more charm. But the most magnetic older men usually have one thing in common. They take away what makes people tense. They subtract emotional pressure. They subtract the desperate need to be validated. They subtract the urge to control perception. And what's left is a man who doesn't feel like a task. He feels like a steady place. That's the quiet power you're actually after. Here's the answer to that open loop. When you don't push for trust, you're communicating you can live without it, not because you don't value connection, but because your identity isn't reliant on being approved of in real time. That is what makes your presence feel safe. Because safety is not nice. Safety is predictability. A woman relaxes when she senses, if I say no, he won't punish me. If I don't respond the same way, he won't collapse. If I disappoint him, he won't turn harsh. That's the whole game, not seduction, but self-management. Now, a third open loop. This one is personal. If you removed the need to be seen as impressive, what would be left of your true self? Not your achievements, not your resume, your actual presence. That question can make a man uncomfortable because some men realize they've been pretending to be capable so long they forgot what stillness feels like. But men who can face that question without flinching are the ones who move up into something rare. They stop trying to be chosen, they start choosing how they show up. You won't feel more confident in a loud way. You'll notice it in small, almost invisible behaviors. You won't rush to fill silence. You won't over-explain your intentions. You won't chase a reaction to calm yourself down. You won't treat a woman's warmth as a game to win. And when life challenges you, because it will, you'll still feel the urge, but you won't follow it. That's this philosophy, not ideas as decoration, but ideas as a system for your mind. Men who stay silent when their ego wants to speak move differently. People who don't explain themselves for approval become more solid in the room. Those who notice patterns instead of reacting stop repeating the same hurt with different faces. And here's the final identity to leave with: quiet but permanent. You are not here to take. You are not here to convince. You are not here to prove. You are here to live out a calm that doesn't need permission. Once you understand this, you don't just become more attractive, you become harder to upset. Did this final insight change your perspective? Tell us what you think in the comments. If you found this entire journey valuable, please support The Manipulated Mind by subscribing, liking this video, and sharing it to help others discover these truths.